Uh, Hi, my name's Kara-Leah, and today I want to speak about, let's just get this so I'm comfortable here on my seat by the window. Hang on, do you want to see my view? Check out my view. Okay, so today I want to talk about Kundalini Awakening. Checking volume. Camera, behave, get in the right place. Okay, yeah, so today I want to talk about Kundalini Awakening because it's something that I have experienced, and I have written extensively about it on the Yoga Lunchbox, so there's lots of articles there. And as a result of writing those articles and talking about it on earlier videos, I get a lot of emails from people that are going through experiences that are freaking them out, and generally the emails I get go something along these lines: this thing happened to me and there was this light and all of these different phenomena as such, and now this is happening, and what do I do? Is this normal? The biggest question I get: this has happened to me, is this normal? This has happened, is this normal? So I can answer that question in a really simple, succinct way. That whatever you are experiencing with regards to awakening, okay, whatever you are going through on a physical, mental, emotional, and energetic level when it comes to awakening, whatever is occurring is normal. Is normal. So what people are really asking when they're asking me that question, you know, this is happening, is it normal, is they're looking for reassurance. They're scared, you know, because suddenly reality has shifted and their experience of reality has shifted and who they think they are has shifted. And yeah, it can be a really scary and terrifying thing. So just want to point that out and acknowledge that aspect of awakening, that when we begin to awaken, to wake up out of the dream, out of the matrix, that our whole ground shifts, all of reality shifts, and we can feel different, we can be functioning in a different way, we show up differently physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. There can be all kinds of symptoms that show up at the same time, and it can be profoundly disorientating, and it's all normal. It is all normal. And as more and more people wake up, more and more people have these experiences, it becomes, you know, I mean, how do you define normal? The way I define normal is this stuff likely to happen to you when you have an awakening experience, you know? And yeah, it is, totally. And everybody's waking up experience looks and feels different. And so if we were to define normal as a thing that happens to most of the population, I mean, that's a nonsensical way to look at life, because every one of us is an individual and we're all going to have our individual expression of waking up. So it's almost a distraction. When people get fixated on, oh my God, this thing is happening and I'm really scared, please reassure me and tell me it's okay. So this is what this video is about, really. It's to all the people who are having whatever kind of awakening experience, whatever you are experiencing, you know, I acknowledge that it can be terrifying, and I acknowledge the fear that can come up, and I acknowledge that whatever it is that you're going through in that experience is normal. So then the real question is, this is happening to me, how do I relate to it? Okay, that's the next thing. Once you can accept or identify that, I'm waking up, identify that you're waking up, accept that, this is what's happening, and that it's a normal, natural, evolutionary part of being a human being. Consciousness seeks to know itself, and the way that consciousness seeks to know itself is it begins to wake up and to transform and to shift. So then once you've got your head around that as such, not that there's a head to get around it, but once you begin to understand and to know that, then the question is, how do I relate to what is happening within me? Because it's an internal experience. It's really what's going on inside of oneself, and it's physical, It's mental, it's emotional, it's energetic. So the question is how to relate to it. And in order to relate to what is happening within us, we have to develop the witness. So one of the primary things to do once you have any kind of awakening experience, whether you define that as Kundalini Awakening or just awakening in general, is to really get clear on your own ability to be self-aware, your own ability to witness yourself in action, to ask and to see, am I still identified with my thoughts? Am I still identified with my feelings? Am I still identified with my body? Or am I able to witness, to hold myself as all of this happens? Can I witness my thoughts in action and recognize that those are just thoughts moving through my mind? Can I witness my feelings as they come and go and not drown in the feelings, not become overly identified with them? Can I witness my body in action and not misidentify, identify with being my body as if it is me? And so building the witness is crucial when it comes to awakening. And the reason for that is the witness is the container. It's the masculine force of the universe. It's like Shiva, right? Within yogic framework, the witness, the container is Shiva. And then Kundalini, Shakti, right? That's the feminine force in the universe, and that's energy, that's evolution. So you need both of these things, right? You need both the Shiva, the masculine, and you need the Shakti, or Kundalini, the feminine. And so if Kundalini is awakening, if Shakti is starting to move within the body, it makes sense that one of the primary things to do is to balance the awakening of Kundalini with a strengthening of Shiva, with a strengthening of the witness, with a strengthening of the container. And so this is when our practices become key. This is why we get on the mat and we do our yoga practice. If Kundalini has awakened and it's really, really active, sometimes meditation practice is not wise. It's because it can exacerbate the energy and lead to more disassociation and more of the symptoms. It's actually far better if you've got strong Kundalini stuff going on. It's far better to get into your body. And so there are many ways to get into your body. One of my favorite ways to get into my body is yoga, right? That's an awesome way to get into your body. Dance, another great way to get into your body. Conscious sex, another way to get into your body. That sex, like anything, can be escapism, but when you are using it as a way to be really present, it becomes a way to be fully in your body. And in fact, any kind of physical activity, running, walking, kayaking, swimming, it can be a really, really good way to work with Kundalini energy. Okay. So if you've got Kundalini Awakening going on, first of all, recognizing, this is what's happening. This is just a normal part of the evolution of consciousness within humanity. Okay, cool. How do I relate to it? I need to develop the witness. I need to become thinking about what's occurring, okay? So the way you're thinking about what's occurring is really important, because the way that we relate to the Kundalini experience is, it's like the Kundalini experience is going on, and how we're relating to it shows us, reveals us, our psyche. It reveals the fears we've got, the limiting beliefs we've got, all the programming that's been installed. And so the whole purpose of Kundalini, when it starts to move, the whole purpose is to highlight and assist in the uninstalling of all samskaras, of all programming. And the yogis knew this, like 2,000 years ago, they were highly cognizant of the technology of the brain and the mind and how it worked and how to work with it. So once you develop the witness and you get really able to witness yourself in action, then you begin to notice when the mind is running programs. And once you begin to notice when your mind is running a program, you begin to start to identify the particular program or samskara that's running. Because once you can identify it, then you can start to do the process of uninstalling it. And then once it's uninstalled, it doesn't run anymore. Those thoughts don't show up. Those behaviors don't show up. And you have, it's an unwinding. You've unwound that particular conditioning of the mind. And it's the conditioning of the mind that keeps us in the prison of limitations as such. And this is the process of Kundalini, because it's one thing to have a Kundalini awakening, right? That's one thing, and that happens for many people. But then if you can lean into that awakening and you can consciously choose to work with the process of Kundalini, then things get really good. You know, like that's what it's all about. And so for a lot of people, it's scary, it's terrifying. They don't want it to be going on, and so they're resisting what's happening. And when you resist something, you can create all this suffering, more suffering, and that resistance itself can sometimes cause mental and emotional suffering. It can sometimes cause physical suffering. So when people are experiencing quite strong Kundalini symptoms, one of the ways that I work with them is to perceive how they're relating to the actual experience, because the way you relate to the experience will often define the experience itself. Okay, and that's kind of basic physics. Like, they're starting to realize that the mere observation of something, of an event, will change the event. So the way that we observe, the way that we relate to the happening, the Kundalini, can impact the very thing that is happening. So build the witness, and then start to notice the way that you're relating to Kundalini, and notice if there's any part of you that is resisting or fearful or attached to what is going on. Because the whole point of Kundalini is to shine a big old light on all fears and all attachments. Because of course the waking up process is about releasing all attachment and facing all fears. It's simple in a way, right? Simple, I always say this, but simple and not necessarily easy, because the human system, the organism, the way that we function is that we are hardwired to avoid pain. And quite often, in order to undo the causes of suffering, we have to move toward pain. We're hardwired to avoid fear as well. And in order to work with psychological fears, the only way to work with a psychological fear is actually to move toward it and to go through it. So this is why it forces us to wake up, because we are literally overcoming our hardwired biology. Consciousness itself is choosing to function in a different way from the hardwired biology of the human body, which is, it's an animal body. We are animals, right? But consciousness, you just feel into this for a moment. Consciousness becoming aware of itself is really the human journey. And to do that, we have to overcome our biology. Not control our biology, not deny it, not repress it, not suppress it, but work with it in a very, very skillful manner, which means to notice when our fight, flight, or freeze mechanism is being triggered by a psychological reason, and then know how to consciously work with that, which is what yoga is all about, really. When we practice yoga, we are learning how to shift from sympathetic nervous system, stress nervous system, into parasympathetic nervous system. And then once you do that, you can begin to really feel where your nervous system is at. And most people are actually walking around life with the sympathetic nervous system turned on. They're literally in fight, flight, or freeze all the time. They're in stress and fear constantly. And you know what? That ain't no way to live. So Kundalini changes all that. For me, Kundalini changed all that. actively choose to engage in. So if you have questions about that process, about